readers,
reviewers,
countrymen.
lend us your wallets. And a huge thank you to all of our Patreons.
Thank you to the Pit Fighters, the First Swords, and all of the Bright Stars, Truth and Courage.
Hello and welcome today. I'm Will, this is my brother Ed, and we're doing something a little bit different. A few months ago or a few weeks, time has kind of warped in my head this summer. But a while ago, we put posts out on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, all of our social media outlets, basically, asking people, basically just walked up and down
Amazon
the road.
driver,
Some people we haven't met before looked at us quite strangely. But all in all, we asked, has any of our kind of random rambling
and
recommendations filtered through to make you want to pick up a book or an author? And has that come to fruition at all? So there were quite a few responses. So I started adding...
William is the numbers,
actually.
The family tree, the Silmarillion guy. Right, and if he enjoys the Silmarillion, I figure he will enjoy an Excel spreadsheet. So,
no disrespect here. But I have put together the figures and seen what are the top 10 authors or books that have been picked up because of us talking about them.
Basically, because of us, we have recommended great books and you guys have loved them. So you're welcome. You came, you saw, you read, you listened. You're welcome.
Should we get into the video, Ed?
Let's do it.
And I'm just going to get my list up. And we actually have 14 because there were draws.
14.
There were draws.
The video says top 10, but it's a top 14.
It is 10. There's 10 places, but there was
Don't
same
get funny about numbers,
votes.
okay? It's okay.
I'm just pointing out we stuck to the rules.
You lied on the
but
no.
You know that. We kept to the rules.
Okay.
Just had some leeway. So kicking it off, we've got number 10 right away, and it's a draw. So we've got two. We've got The Judas Blossom by Stephen Orion, book one of his historical fantasy. I believe it'll be a trilogy, but only the first two books are out yet. We read book one on release, didn't we? We both really enjoyed it, and we've been lacking, haven't we? We've been slacking.
Well, the TBR is
picked up book two.
A big monster. Okay,
it is true. It is a big monster.
If you think Kratos fought some big giants in God of War, I mean, the TBR is insane compared to...
And your kind of colour palette is kind of matching the Judas Blossom, I think. So
I did plan it.
We're just going to let Ed quickly change
I'm feeling
to
Mongolian.
me. So he's going to change now to match the colour palette of who he also drew with. Sadly, Ed hasn't got 20 outfits for him today. No. But the next one, that was a draw with Stephen Orion's The Judas Blossom, was overall Cormac McCarthy. So we're putting it under the author because a few people said Blood Meridian and some said The Road.
It surprised me.
I think we also said the Border Trilogy.
Because our Cormac McCarthy videos usually do quite well. I was quite surprised that we didn't get... that it wasn't higher up the list.
Maybe they just didn't comment. But
basically,
from who
people
did answer,
haven't been listening.
Well, obviously, we know this is a flawed list. Only a limited group of people saw it and commented. But in drawing 10th is Cormac McCarthy, which is awesome to see because we read a wide variety of books. And most of this list, surprise, surprise, is going to be fantasy or historical fiction. But there are some outliers, and Cormac McCarthy's one of them.
Not tons of fantasy, really.
Is there... Oh, no, you're right, actually.
We're going to find out. So... The Judas Blossom, Stephen Orion, historical fantasy. It is essentially, Genghis Khan has died, and it's about his family kind of divvying up parts of his empire, as it were. And then Cormac McCarthy, the best American author to have ever lived. That
bold words, but many people would agree with you. Okay. And now going on to the 9th position, we have another draw. I promise it's not just 20. And they're not all draws. After this, it's not a draw. But drawing 9th, we've got... Ed, do you want to talk about one of your favourite books of all time?
It is Gates of Athens. It's Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. I mean, I have been telling people to read Larry McMurtry for, I think, years. I mean...
Actually, you said to me, you think that it's down to you that people are talking about Lonesome Dove on YouTube. You said, I need to be given credit for people picking Lonesome Dove up now.
Very egotistical, and you've painted me.
But did you say
it? You've tarnished my reputation.
Ed didn't say it in an egotistical manner.
I remember
he was just
badgering Mike from Mike's Book Reviews to read it quite a lot, and lots of people really saying you need to read a western because I love westerns. You need to read Lonesome Dove. It is the GOAT. Now I actually read Dead Man's Walk first, which a lot of people say don't do, but I did that and read Comanche Moon. Then I read Lonesome Dove. You regret doing that? I think Larry McMurtry actually died whilst I was reading Lonesome Dove. Well, I just finished it, so that was bad timing. Really.
Was that your reread or
my first read?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, didn't know it was that long ago.
Yeah.
Feels more recent. But in joint 9th, we have got one of my favourite books, one you recently read and loved, and it is Gates of Athens by Conor Iggulden. Book one of his Athenian duology, which is set in Athens, if you didn't know.
And it's 2 books.
And so, Ed, do you want to give a bit of the premise? Very fresh in your mind, isn't it?
Well, Persia is nasty, basically, to the Greeks anyway, and the Greeks are nasty to the Persians, but the Persians don't want to put up with the Greeks don't want to put up with the Persian nastiness anymore, so they start to fight back, but then the Persians don't want to put up with them fighting back, so they want to destroy them, basically.
Okay, you're not teaching your Year 3 class right now, Ed. In other words,
Well,
Gates of Athens, it involves the Persian invasion of Greece, and in one book somehow we have Marathon and Thermopylae and naval battles as well. It is mental. But also the biggest part of it is the political machinations of Athens as they prepare for the incoming conflict.
Yeah.
And the characters at the heart of it is wonderful, really immersive, great characterization. On this list, there's loads that we'd recommend because obviously they're all books that we've hyped up a lot. But Gates of Athens is one that I think is really an undiscovered gem, especially for people who love fantasy, want some more historical fiction, and this is quite epic for historical fiction, so I think it ticks that box.
yeah, definitely. It's quite a fast-moving book, but it's balanced really well. I think it's Conor Iggulden's best book by far, and the fact that it has these political moments, this kind of, like as Will said, these machinations behind the scenes. You've got these key players in Athenian history. You've got Xanthippus. You've got Aristides, all sorts of those people. Who's the other guy? Miltiades? No, Themistocles, of course.
Yeah.
And then also you've got the Spartans. You've got Leonidas.
Who's your favourite of the main 3 POVs?
Themistocles was great, but Xanthippus was a very because he is the main character, but he's a very intriguing character. He's written so differently to a classic historical fiction POV.
And a hero as well.
Great, definitely go check out Gates of Athens and Lonesome Dove.
Very nice. And now on to the 8th position. We have got The Last War, beginning with We Are the Dead by Mike Shackle. This is one that I read a few years ago and absolutely adored. And I have Petrick to thank, actually, for picking that up. We have to give credit where credit's due, don't
Petrick,
we?
thank you very much. It's a great series.
And it is incredible. And then I got you to pick it up. With many of these, you've got me to pick them up, or I've got you, and we've both raved about them on the channel. We Are the Dead is absolutely just beyond awesome. It takes the premise of what if the bad guys won? What if Sauron took over the Shire? Yeah. What would the aftermath look like? And don't worry, we're not in the Shire. We're in a very unique, different world. Yeah. But it does take that premise, and it is just so creative. I love the magic system. This is basically the epitome of a page turner, and I love that. It just sweeps you along on a crazy journey that is intimate and epic at the same time. Yeah. So that's number 8 for us.
Mike Shackle is the most underrated author, I think, out there at all, and I just can't wait to see what he does in fantasy next.
Yeah.
I think he should be a big name alongside Joe Abercrombie, Brandon Sanderson, everyone. I think his stuff is to the next level. It's brilliant work.
It's great.
Yeah, I definitely go check out more Mike Shackle, and I know that Mike from Mike's Book Reviews loves The Last War as well. So
and then Talking Story as well.
Exactly. So
his first name isn't Talking.
No, his surname not Story.
Yeah.
But yeah, so BookTube is coming around to The Last War, but Petrick got there first. Yeah.
He did indeed. So that's number 8, and now on to number 7, which is Matthew Harvey, and we've got Dark Frontier and The Wolf of Wessex.
So yeah, Dark Frontier is like a kind of a detective western, which is Matthew Harvey's most recent release, and then of course the most recommended thing from us by Matthew Harvey would have to be Wolf of Wessex, which is essentially True Grit if John Wayne had a sword.
That is a great premise.
Set in the Viking Age.
I think that's all that needs to be said. And they're both standalones, which is very nice and handy when you need a bit of a palate cleanser or something to kind of ease off the big series.
I thought we would see a lot more standalones on this, but as you see, the higher up the list you go, you actually see a lot of series.
And to illustrate that point, in the number 6 spot, we have The Warlord Chronicles by Bernard Cornwell. We were recommended this by Papa Gwyn, who actually got Petrick to read The Warlord Chronicles, and then it's filtered into a lot of other booktubes. So this is a video crediting people. This we have to thank Papa Gwyn.
It is cool that you can see, like, okay, I've read this book, and you can follow the thread of
The domino
when
effect.
exactly, you saw it here, you saw this person recommend it, and then Petrick said, I really like it. So of course we all trust Petrick.
Yeah.
He's like kind of the filter,
Yeah.
isn't he? If he's read it and liked it, then we're probably going to enjoy it. So
We do love Patrick's recommendations.
exactly. And the Warlord Chronicles is brilliant. Alan from Library of Alexandria loves it as well. It is Bernard Cornwell's best work by a completely long, like Robin Hood style archery shot. It is clear
Long
of
range.
anyone else. It is brilliant, his historical fiction work, because it's Arthurian, but it's Arthurian in a historical
Setting.
concept.
And all the characters are just incredible. Lancelot, one of the best characters ever. The reimagination of his character is just genius, isn't it? And then Derval, a character who's kind of fallen out of the Arthurian legend. Bernard Cornwell brought him back. And then characters like Merlin, so sharp, just leaps off the page.
Yeah.
We could talk about the Warlord Chronicles a lot, but
we also
as
have...
we said,
Yeah, sorry.
we also have some more historical fiction, and that is Essex Dogs.
The
by
dogs!
Dan Jones.
The dogs!
Ed just broke the microphone shouting, but we love the passion.
As if we have a mic.
As if, we have no microphone here.
No, it does.
Actually, we did, but what happened, Ed?
We did, but it died.
It died.
Anyway,
Essex
Dan
Dogs.
Jones, the big DJ, he's a
What have
close
you been called that before?
he's a close friend.
Did
And,
he beat Dan Snow in an arm wrestle? Watch our interview of Dan Jones to find out his answer. Because Ed actually did ask him who would win in an arm wrestle.
I had to
or
ask.
Dan Snow?
Well, exactly, I had to ask. But anyway, Essex Dogs, it is... Well, it's a brilliant book. It's a brilliant series. It's following a group of people a group of men in the English army as they are invading France during the 100-years war, because it was many years, not just one. And it's a great series. 2 books are out so far. The 3rd is coming out. We heard today,
Spring
2025 spring. So we cannot wait for that. Hopefully we'll do a read along.
That would be awesome.
That'd be awesome. And then hopefully chat to the big DJ at some point in the future. But yeah, can't wait to see how that plays out. And I'm so glad to see it high up on the list, because we are the historical fiction channel, really. I feel there's obviously lots of fantasy stuff out there, but we do pride ourselves on being able to read like a broad range of books. And historical fiction has always been like, our bread and butter since, Papa Gwyn told us that to get our dinner, we had to read.
Some Bernard Cornwell.
So exactly. So I remember, reading the Warlord Chronicles when I was very young. And it just blew me away. And Essex Dogs is kind of taking the crown of the new historical fiction kind of king, the prince,
and a bit of a fantasy link.
The new King Henry.
Ooh, very nice. And he's got Henry V book coming out.
He does
A
indeed.
bit of a link to fantasy. Do you remember who told Dan Jones that he should maybe write some fiction?
George R.R. Martin.
It's not everyone who can say that, is it?
No.
Because obviously he's a historian. He's talking to George R. R. Martin. I think they did like an episode for something.
Right.
Talking about how Game of Thrones is inspired by War of the Roses.
But yeah.
And then they just, had a chinwag, as you do. And George, as Dan Jones said, sorry, just all the Dan's in my head right now. Not a sentence I thought I'd be saying today. But anyway, that inspired Dan Jones. Now, firing our way into the top
Nice. Will.
5. This
Nice,
is our
Will.
last draw. We've got 2 in the 5th spot. And that is beginning with Ed, another one of the books that you introduced to me.
Yeah, so Papa Gwyn said to read this book, and it was a masterpiece from page 1.
It's a theme here, isn't
Stephen Pressfield's Gates of Fire. This is the story of Thermopylae. I mean, Gates of Athens is the kind of the Athenian version of Thermopylae, and some random bloke just walked past.
We just saw it
the
the window.
eye contact really affected me there. But Gates of Athens is the Athenian kind of perspective of that war, of the war against Persia, and then Gates of Fire is very much the Spartan perspective from that, and it is amazing. But it's also tied with.
Just want to say, obviously, people outside really want to hear what you're talking about as well. But onto the other spot in 5th
Kevin
is...
needs to just keep walking, doesn't
He does. We're recording here. But anyway, other spot, 5th, is Ghoul Song by Shauna Lawless. And this is perfect timing to talk about it, because I'm currently reading the 3rd installment, The Land of the Living and the Dead. I believe
Great
when this
title.
video is put out, it will be published. So you can just
Really?
pick up all of the Ghoul Song series and just binge it, which there's not much better I can think of doing.
Yeah.
This is historical fantasy set in late 10th century, early 11th century Ireland. It's historical, where you've got the Viking threat kind of looming more on the shores, but then also the Irish kings fighting for dominance
And if
as
you
well.
thought Cersei was bad like nasty, just wait.
And that leads to the other aspect. We've got the mythological aspect, the Irish mythology. We've got I apologise for my pronunciations, but we've got different mythological groups.
The Tuatha De Danann.
The Tuatha De Danann and the Fomorians, which have an age-long enmity with each other. But it's believed the Fomorians are gone from the world. Bit of a hint, they're not. And that is one of the big conflicts in this trilogy. And what I love about it is that you've got that epic scope in the background of these kind of mythological, magical people living amongst mortals. But then you've also got the intimate story of our main characters as well. And the scope gets bigger throughout the trilogy, but it still keeps its intimate core. And it's just great writing. And that is Goulsong for 5th spot.
Nice.
And now heading into the top 4, we've got some plain historical fiction. Although it's not plain.
It's never plain.
It's just
one of our
one
favourite
genre.
authors, and also his kind of partnership with his narrator, Philip Stevens, is remarkable. And it's Giles Christian's writing. And we've definitely recommended lots of his Viking trilogy, specifically the Rise of Sigurd trilogy, as well as his Arthurian trilogy.
I was going to say the two that were voted for.
Quite a few people have been picking them up. Probably more people picking up the Arthurian trilogy. Fantasy readers are drawn to Arthur a lot, I think, a bit more than they are just a standard kind of Viking tale.
Yeah.
But, I think if you like the Northman or that kind of Hamlet style, the Lion King style, of story, then you will love The Rise of Sigurd, the trilogy by Giles Christian. It's fantastic. I mean, they were some of the first audiobooks I ever listened to. The first trilogy, Raven. So yeah, lots of people like Giles Christian. His writing is brilliant, and I think lots of people, they go from Warlock Chronicles and then they move on to Giles Christian's Arthurian tales. But it's great to see Giles Christian so high up on the list as well, because he's got a great narrator as well as his wonderful prose style, so it fits really well. And I'm just happy to see him high up on the list.
It is awesome, and hopefully we'll be talking to Giles on the channel at some point.
And before we move on with the video, can you write down in the comments below, guess your top 3, or just have a think to yourself, who are the top 3 going to be, and then let us know at the end whether you were correct. Did you get them right, within the right order? Because I think the third choice will shock you. This is not clickbait. We should put this at the beginning of the video.
Maybe we should have, But anyway, on to the 3rd spot, which is Papa Gwyn. So I think we used a lot of nepotism to start this channel. We basically said
we didn't
Papa
use
Gwyn.
it on purpose.
I think we did.
Oh, you did hack his phone, to be fair.
I did, and shared every video we did. True. And so a lot of people watching this channel have come from loving Papa Gwyn's books, but it's amazing to still see a few people have picked up his works. Do you think it's possible
for people to love Papa Gwyn's books but not love the Brothers Gwyn?
Yes. In short, I do. Yeah. Ed.
Well, I think if it wasn't possible, we'd have a lot more subscribers.
Yeah, so do I. But anyway, it's great to see Papa Gwyn so high up this list that people have discovered our channel without reading his works.
Well,
which
most
is
people
wrong.
actually, well, I'll say most people, lots of comments say, wait, you're John Gwyn's son?
At least, probably, I'd say one video is the average.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be a lot more, to be fair.
Did.
I think I'm slowly turning into Papa Gwyn, the look of him.
Is that why you've done it?
Jaded man. Yeah.
No, the beard's looking good, I must say. Do you comb it at all?
I don't think it's at a length.
It's
never been called a beard before, so thank you.
It's all right. See, this is brotherly support. That's what we're here for.
It. When's your coming through?
Well, I just prefer the clean shaven look kind of thing.
You might have to go to Turkey.
I did shave this morning.
You'll have to go to Turkey.
I might have to.
I shaved this morning too.
If I come back with full beard and new teeth, it's a coincidence, okay? Anyway, that's number 3. Going on to number 2, which is The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper. The Wolf Den trilogy, historical fiction. I was surprised by this because
we do talk about it in every video, I think.
But if you think about fantasy readers, which is the majority of people who watch our channel, when they read historical fiction, it's usually military historical fiction, isn't it? Because they love that kind of how that epic combat,
especially
focus.
Our demographic, which if you look on YouTube, I think the vast majority of our viewers are between the ages of 25 and 34, and they are male. So that is very interesting. Obviously, in my age category and my gender category.
Yeah.
And typically, I would never want to, presume, but typically, people in that demographic enjoy military books slightly more. You think
Interesting.
they'd seek them out more?
Yeah,
But The Wolf Den, so high up, shows that people are character-driven readers.
it does, and I've seen quite a few people picking up the Wolf Den recently. Spaced Out Wizard, and he said he's really been enjoying the Wolf Den
Yes,
trilogy, and
yeah.
then Chris and Mads as well. They have been picking up this as well, and so it's awesome to see some other booktubers, booktalkers picking up the Wolf Den trilogy. Because I've said for a few years, I feel like this is a trilogy that kind of transcends genre. No matter what your normal reading taste is, there's a few books, a very rare few series and standalones that I'd say I'd recommend to anyone, and The Wolf Den is one of those.
Yeah. And it is mad. I mean, before we go into our first one, that we haven't really read the big fantasy series. So we've read obviously Lord of the Rings, but when I consider when I think of the big fantasy series, I think of Stormlight. I
Yeah,
think of the Malazan.
yeah,
And I think of the Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
And we've not read any of those. You've read parts.
yeah.
I've read parts, but we've not read all of them.
No.
And we never recommend them. So
No.
it's cool that we're seeing all these books that are never really usually in people's like, oh, I've read these.
Yeah.
Before I even look for other recommendations. So that's really cool. The number one pick is something I am so proud of and I'm so happy
And
for.
it's down to you.
And again, Papa Gwyn told me to read it. I was starting my writing journey. Papa Gwyn said, right, you want to write a
He's
prologue?
got you on tender hook, so he knows you want to find out that number one.
He said, you want to read a prologue that just captivates you, it's incredible. Go read the first chapter of this and you will absolutely love it. People who don't read prologues are sinners.
Bad.
They're bad
But-
people and do not listen to them. But
But we'll be back next week to say what the number one
Yeah.
spot. Thank you for watching. No, I'm joking.
the number one video is Boudica by Manda Scott. Number one video, number one book, the number one most recommended book or series is Boudica by Manda
is.
Scott. And that makes me really, really happy because, I mean, it's probably my favourite historical fiction series of all time.
It is incredible, and I haven't finished it. I've got half of the
I
final
can't
book
believe
to read.
you
I know what
actually
it is.
done
This
that.
was a book that, because I adored it so much, you know when you have that thing, you know this is a book you're going to be talking about for years and years and years and years. I got halfway through and then I had exams, and there's a bit of a break, and I was like, I just need to start this again. But then I knew there's other kind of appointments coming up, which was going to distract me from what the priority should be, Boudica. And so it's just fallen further and further back, but I will be making up for that mistake at some point, giving it the respect it deserves. I thought you'd be happier. I made sure to treat it with the proper respect it's due by not just picking it up from halfway, even though I hadn't read it for a month.
Fair enough, but you should have finished it in the
That is
first go,
true.
Okay?
And
you
I
really think
hold my hands up.
uni is more important than Boudica?
I'm sorry. I'm
Fool.
sorry.
I mean,
I am.
yeah. Anyway, Boudica is amazing. I don't think I've ever had an emotional connection as I have with Ban, the character in that. I mean, the only thing I can relate it to is my connection to characters from the Faith and Fallen. And they do kind of have an advantage because I've kind of grown up with Corban.
And this did
you know?
inspire a lot of the feel and aspects of the Faith and the Fallen
It really
as
did, yeah.
well. And Papa Gwyn, whenever I say to him kind of what historical fiction series would you recommend to people who read fantasy, he always says The Warlord Chronicles and Boudica.
Boudica is by far the most epic historical fiction I've ever read. It's the story of Boudica and her half-brother Ban as they are facing their plight against the Roman Empire. And what I love about Manda Scott's writing is that you have flawed grey characters on both sides. And as character-driven readers, you get behind these people, you love them. Like, you genuinely have connections to these people.
You do.
And it is heartbreaking seeing what happens to them. So she is the Robin Hobb of historical fiction. And she deserves the crown, I think, as our most recommended and most popular author.
A writer of the highest caliber. And that is our 10, 14 authors or books that people have picked up from our recommendation. And it's very humbling. It's really just amazing to see that people picked up books and, even more importantly, enjoyed them.
And people
from our
trust us.
recommendation.
Like, I
mental.
don't even trust myself. Like, to choose dinner. You know, I have to ask Sadie.
It's hard.
Like, she goes, what we have? And can you choose? Because I'll probably make the wrong decision. But the fact that people are, kind of feel the same things as us, choose similar books to us, listen to us and then, you know, want to chat to us about those books. Like, it means the world. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for all of our support. You know, you're all the best. And honestly, it is the best community we could be a part of.
And we are here to talk about
I'm getting
the
all
books
gushy
that we
now.
love. And we love talking to people about their
Yeah.
favourite moments of books we love, which is, we kind of raised our game on the Discord lately, haven't we? And we've been chatting a lot more on there. And it has been awesome. And currently we've got a read along for the Bloodsworn Saga going on. So if you want to join us on there, hear our thoughts. We've lucky enough to be Papa Gwyn's sons, as we've cleared up, and so we can give a few little Easter eggs for the series as well.
But thank you for watching our video. Thank you for listening to us hark on so much, and it's been a blast as always. And anything to add, Will?
Nothing from me.
Truth and courage.
The Brothers Gwyn.
The Brothers Gwyn.